Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, I still have some giant monster movies, creature features, or whatever you want to call them, to review, folks, because, yeah, I'm still doing this kind of a thing, of course. So, yeah, I thought I would do this since there's still more of this kinds of movies I have to talk about. Yeah, it's Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. So this film is, of course, a part of the Heritage series of films that we talked about, and the thing is that the price in this film for this film, of course, vary, and not necessarily in a good way either. So yeah, of course, I'm going to be talking about the Japanese version of this film, obviously, and the thing is that the Japanese version, the price for this will vary depending on where you go. They can go from $11 some change all the way up to $80, if not more. Yes, that's just ridiculous. I don't understand as to why it has to be like that either. There seems to be a great price gap. Of course, it would vary obviously, but still, you would call it a price spike. So yeah, like I was saying, it may be for like $11 all the way to maybe 85, 90, if not more. So that's just ridiculous. So Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. This is a part of the Heisei series of films, of course, for Godzilla. And this movie is in fact the uh, sixth entry of the Heisei series. Like I told you before, folks, I've said this before, but the Godzilla Heisei series is definitely my favorite era of Godzilla because, for the most part, it does attempt to be more like it was originally supposed to, like in the original Godzilla film, and it does take itself seriously. So, yeah, that's the first film, of course, which was followed by this movie, the fourth installment of this Heisei series, The Return of Godzilla. And then, of course, there was a sequel, Godzilla vs. Biollante, of course. So, of course, that also got a sequel, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, of course. And all of these I've already reviewed, of course. Then Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth, obviously. And then there was another one, of course, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. So this film goes along with all these films. It goes on the same continuity. Even though when you think about it, it's still a bit of a clusterfuck now because of the whole time traveling bit in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. So yeah, that really marked things up a little bit, folks. Okay, let's be honest, it marked it up quite a bit. So yeah, that's the thing when it comes to time traveling movies. Oh, Miki Sugusa does play a large part in this film, which I'm happy to say, because she's definitely my favorite human character in the series of films. And besides that, and not only that, the fairies do make a return as well, but they had some disaster stuff. Yeah, disastrous news, of course, because Space Godzilla is coming and basically wants to enslave everybody. And yeah, they're trying to tell Miki Sukusa that the human characters need to be cared for because the Earth is about to be destroyed. Yep. Okay, maybe enslaved. I should say maybe the better word is enslaved. I guess you can say. But of course, Miki Sukusa does try to tell the other human characters that they need Godzilla alive. He's like the last hope, so to speak. So, but the thing is that, folks, she's trying to warn everybody about this. She must warn everyone. She's trying to convince everybody that they need Godzilla to be kept alive. But that's easier said than done, of course, because everybody does not want to accept it. Yep, humanity is about to be destroyed, and yeah. So yeah, it's basically one of those end of the world kind of movies, folks. And I guess that's the best way to describe this. It's like one of those end of the world kind of things. This is actually a rather popular genre, and yeah, especially in Hollywood, of course. But I did notice that Hollywood did make quite a bit of the end of the world themed type movies. And a lot of these are actually quite popular. A lot of famous actors and actresses we saw in these kinds of movies, of course. And yeah, I know these kinds of movies would vary in quality, of course. But that doesn't stop these movies from being popular, of course. So yeah, there's a fan base for these kinds of stuff, which is fine, I guess. These kinds of movies were never really my cup of tea, really. I mean, they're usually just disaster movies, and well, everything just goes crazy, of course. So, I mean, if this is your cup of tea, that's fine, I guess. But it's something not for me, really. But anyway, I'm just trying to bring this up because this is how I took the movie anyway. Because this is one of those few times where the monster Godzilla's fighting against actually gives him a challenge. And yes, this is one of those few times where Godzilla himself has to team up with humanity and fight a bigger threat. So two enemies have to set aside their differences to fight the bigger enemy. So yeah, that's how I took it. The end of the world kind of a movie. And well, that's what I got from this film anyway. And that in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, really, folks. But I guess you can't really blame this series of films for trying to have variety, I guess, of stories, I guess. So yes, again, we're going for like a sci-fi kind of a thing here because it involves an alien monster going around trying to destroying a bunch of shit. So, but then again, that's what you expect from these movies anyway. Lots of stuff getting destroyed, lots of monster fights and whatnot, and that's basically where you can get it right here, folks. So it doesn't really seem much of a stretch that this is what they'll be going for. I mean, I don't see why not. I guess so. Might as well just do it. Character of Miki Sugusa is doing her damn best to actually inform everybody that hey, something bad is coming. We need to have Godzilla alive. Don't try to kill him. But of course, they don't acknowledge that. They just try to refuse to listen to her, like she's in the wrong. What? Anyway, so yeah, like I said, I'm reviewing the Blu-ray version of the Japanese movie. Yeah, there's not much to it really. And yeah, I get to see it in great audio, of course, and it does have subtitles, of course, and the HD quality of the picture is actually really good. And yeah, it's unedited, it's uncut in this format, but beyond that, there's not much to it really, actually. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, the Japanese version, was released theatrically on December 10th of 1994 and was actually a commercial success despite receiving mixed reviews. And the film Godzilla vs. Godzilla did receive a direct-to-video release in the United States in 1999 by Columbia TriStar Home Video. So there's that, folks. So, of course, like I said, I'm talking about the Japanese version of this film. So yeah, just keep that in mind, obviously. And that's what I'm going to stick to for the entire video. So, anyway, as always, I do have to talk about the plot, so let's get into it, shall we? So, yeah, here we go, folks. In this superpowered adventure, the film opens with a large crystal thing flying through space that ends up being a monster named Space Godzilla. So we do cut to on Earth where there's the G-Force again, which is supposed to be this elite group of soldiers trained to battle Godzilla head on in one way or another. It's actually creating a giant robot to combat Space Godzilla before he reaches Earth. So of course the monster is set to on the course on Earth. The robot for this film, Mogira, is actually sent to outer space and to combat the character, Space Godzilla. But of course, ultimately fails, of course. Anyway, before that point of the story, meanwhile, on the island off the coast of Japan, yes, there's this other group of G4 soldiers planting bombs on the island to trap Godzilla as he lives on that island. So I guess that does make sense. The whole plan is to trap Godzilla so they can plant a new kind of weapon that allows them to control Godzilla. Of course, Miki Sugusa does take issue to this, of course. So while they are working to end up attracting the son of Godzilla, yep, the son of Godzilla is back in this film. So he does play a pretty decent part in this film. But the son of Godzilla actually does take a very liking to the group. The son of Godzilla ends up walking into one of the traps by mistake and ultimately attracts Godzilla himself. So the G-Force soldiers do start attacking Godzilla, and their plan nearly works if it wasn't for Space Godzilla interrupting their little battle. So let's just say the character of Space Godzilla, he doesn't really want to mess around. He gets straight to the point. So yeah, there's this whole battle between, if you want to call it a battle, because in this fight, folks, pretty much Space Godzilla, he's yeah, he's a trapper for Godzilla, who pretty much gets his ass handed to him on the island. So let's just say that he wants to get revenge. The son of Godzilla is trapped on the island with his questers. So the thing is that, like I was saying earlier on in the video, the humans and Godzilla have to team up because Space Godzilla himself is too damn powerful. So he does make a good chunk of Japan his fortress. Basically, Space Godzilla turns Japan into, yep, you can guess it yourself, yeah, this. He basically turns everything into this. Yeah, pretty fucked up when you think about it. So, yeah, there's this robot. He's rebuilt and fixed up, of course. And I can definitely say he does his best to actually fight the monster, of course. But the one thing that did get me a bit, okay, really, really confused here. I mean, if you're going on the logic of Back to the Future movies here, which I'm pretty much we are, and what I'm referring to is the film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah because of the whole time travel bit. Yeah, the whole time travel bit is what really made this really absurdly confusing. Is that the character from that film, Emmy, since she's from the future and whatnot, she would have seen a lot of this already unfolded. So this would have implied that she would have known that Space Godzilla would have came around. I mean, you could suggest that it's because of their interfering of the whole time-space continuum is the result. It had resulted of him, I guess, is why he's here because of this kind of a thing, I guess. But still, granted, she may not know that in that present moment, but in her future self, she will know that in that very instant. I mean, even if you want to say she's set anything back to the normal way, but even in the film, it's suggested, even if it's theorized, they even brought up the fact that the whole idea of the whole big thing with in outer space, how life form can be changed in outer space, but yeah, this kind of a thing here, folks. This is actually brought up in the film, so yes, it does beg the answer. Why didn't she come back from that timeline? And yeah, the whole black hole, white hole kind of thing was mentioned in the film. So you think she would have came back and helped out? I guess it's the overall story is as jarring as this game, folks, because of the structure of the film. Of course, again, I'm just reviewing the Japanese version. I'm not saying the story of this game, and I'm not saying that the story of Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla is bad. Don't get me wrong. The story for this game and the story for Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, I'm not saying it's bad. Don't get me wrong. The film and this video game do have a lot of interesting ideas. Both stories are pretty creative. It's just very jarring. Very, very drawing is all I'm saying. It is a better film than Godzilla Mothra, The Battle for Earth, I'll give it that. Like I said, it's just a very confusing film. But yeah, overall, I did like it, folks. I did enjoy this film. It's pretty action-packed as a whole. I did like all the abilities that Space Godzilla had in this film. Really giving everybody a challenge, folks. It just came off like nobody was able to stop him. He was able to keep fighting onward with practically unlimited power. So, it was just a big challenge for everyone. So, you can say that this film had this end of the world feel to it. So, that's one of the things I can say about this film, folks. There's plenty of action to be had, especially towards the end of the film, which yes, the final battle did last for quite a while. So, and I even like the design for his Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla looks pretty cool in this film. He's really well designed. Even he might seem a little creepy when you think about it. So anyway, like I was saying with the overall tone, it does take itself rather seriously. And the main plot for this film was pretty cool. I did like the premise, and I did like how it was about everyone that was trying to attack Godzilla before Godzilla strikes first, I guess you could say. And for the most part, I can say the structure of the film was pretty smooth, even though there was some of the bits here and there little uneven. But for the most part, the structure of the story wasn't too bad. And I can say that this movie was definitely something pretty exciting. I did like this film for a lot of ways. The characters in this movie were quite good with it, entertaining and interesting personalities. The monsters were also pretty cool in this one as well, along with Space Godzilla. Pretty much still in the show, with his design, of course, and his pure strength. Of course, the character of Son Godzilla was also pretty cool to see on screen in this one as well. And yeah, of course, everybody's trying to stop the monster, of course. And like I said earlier, folks, this is definitely one of those films where Godzilla and the human race definitely has to put the differences aside and team up with each other. So yeah, enemies become friends or whatever. For the the special effects were a bit rough in this film, I guess you would say. But the special effects weren't too bad, I guess, as a whole. But yeah, I like the premise, of course. The idea isn't too bad. I like the whole idea that it's pretty much connecting to the other Godzilla films in the Heisei series of films and whatnot. Space Godzilla was definitely a different opponent for Godzilla when it comes to these films, and I do hope they would introduce even more new monsters when it comes to the upcoming films. And I did like how Miki Sugusa still wants Godzilla himself to be safe because he's an animal, despite the fact that he's going around fucking up a bunch of shit. I mean, granted, you can always say that Godzilla himself is trying to defend himself from monsters or anybody else, I guess. So there's that. So yeah, I, I can also say the damn robots, those damn robots again in these films. There always seems to be so many robots in these films, but that's fine by me. I like the way that this film is choreographed. The way it's choreographed is pretty well done, I guess. Even though some of it did feel a bit rushed here and there, I guess. Some of it did feel a little rushed, I guess. And in some ways you can tell, I guess. But anyway, I do like the costume designs in this film, which were actually really nicely done. Despite the fact, yes, you can always say that this is a B movie because the budget itself is extremely high. I mean, okay, it's higher than some of the other Godzilla films in the past, I'll say that. Sure, but still, it's not the biggest budget in the film, folks. So, it's not the biggest budget in the film's history of anything, really. So, it's still a cheaply made film, but I liked it. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, the pacing is a bit off here and there, but for the most part, the pacing isn't too bad. So I kind of recommend this if you're like a sci-fi fan, I guess. And I mean, I wouldn't start watching the Godzilla series with this movie per se, but I would say it has something going for it. So yeah, there's plenty of lot going on with the human characters because there's one bit in the film where Miki Sakusa actually gets kidnapped by this asshole just because she has these psychic abilities. So pretty much she's gonna get used like a some sort of tool, some sort of device. Because this guy out here is a dickhead. He's a son of a bitch. I guess we're gonna have to have a human villain in the story somehow, in amongst of the crazy shit that's going on in this film. So yeah, the story itself isn't too bad, even though quite often in the film I was scratching my head because of the whole time traveling thing. So yeah, we have a monster that was born in outer space and whatnot. So yeah, this film has its moments, I guess. There's plenty of scenes I did like, really. So there's that. There's plenty of good destruction scenes to be had here, folks. Of course, I do like the design for the monsters and the robot. Yeah, and yes, like I was saying earlier, the final battle sequence does go on for quite a bit, and I do mean for quite a bit. So I guess if they want to just go all in, you might as well make it as action packed as you can. I guess the military does come in for a brief moment, but of course it's pretty ineffective, as you might guess in these films. So yeah, that was that. It gets pretty wild in its own little way. I did like the miniature sets that was used in this film, folks. They're trying to get creative, of course. So, yeah, I did think that this film was a pretty good film. Is it perfect? Okay, I'm not going to say it's a perfect movie by any means, but I did like it. I honestly did like this film, of course. And I actually thought the Space Godzilla character and monster was actually quite menacing in his own little way. He captured Godzilla's son quite early on in the film, and he does wish to take over the world. So, of course, Godzilla himself has to stop him from doing so, of course. So, yeah, there's a lot of trouble when it comes to characters. Especially Godzilla himself even tosses Godzilla around for quite a bit. So, yeah, Godzilla himself is having a huge problem here. So, if Thanos wants some extra help, so, yeah. He'd be that strong, folks. So anyway, he definitely gives everybody a run for their money. Because Space Godzilla is quite a powerful individual. And he does have a plenty of abilities, of course, obviously. And yeah, trying to give you a sense of what this movie is, folks, and how it's supposed to be. And I really don't want to get into spoiler territory, really, but all in all, I can say that this film was quite enjoyable as far as I'm concerned, anyway. The lighting wasn't too bad, I guess. The lighting was solid, even in the outside scenes or the indoor scenes. It does have a sense of being professionally made, despite the fact, like I said, it is pretty cheaply made. So, yeah, keep that in mind, folks. And the acting, for the most part, it was actually pretty good. I like the acting, even though the acting here and there is yes is a bit stiff, I guess, but I don't mind it. And I didn't mind the fact that we have women being a part of the story. Yeah, women being a part of the story has always been a thing in these films anyway, when I think about it. So it didn't really bother me all that much at all. So, yeah, there was that, folks. So, anyway, I can say that this film was actually quite entertaining in a lot of ways. I did like the over idea and whatnot, so it's something I wouldn't mind watching again, of course. So if it's something that you haven't seen, again, just be sure to check out the Japanese version, of course. So anyway, the Japanese version, like we're saying, folks, there's not much behind it with the Blu-ray version, unfortunately. At least the Blu-ray edition I'm talking about, anyway. So, but besides that, I still found the film to be rather entertaining, nonetheless. The music in this film is actually quite good, as it attempts to get at you a sense of drama, a sense of the dramatic, a sense of conflict. So definitely having that kind of thing going on. So yeah, the music it does help out in this film. I know I've said this before, but the music is often the best part, the best aspect of these films. So the music overall in this movie is actually quite solid and does give you a sense that there's a big battle, there's a huge, everything is at risk here. Everything could be destroyed. Everything there's a possibility of everybody dying. So yeah, it gets pretty damn dramatic, which I actually didn't mind really. There needs to be a sense of drama, of course, which I also did appreciate, obviously. So that's definitely a good thing there. But yeah, like I was saying, as far as the story is concerned, I do believe that the film company was trying to focus on the human characters and the subplot, so which I didn't mind really, folks. And the major and the troublemaker characters relationship takes center stage in a lot of ways, as do Miki Sugusa and this other guy character that she may have interest in. Yuki, like one of the characters here. wants to avenge Godzilla for his friend being killed off in one of the previous films. So yeah. And one thing a lot of people seem to miss is that the monsters and the human characters, both of which must have their own storylines, which means they must somehow intertwine in one way or another, which is something a lot of American filmmakers that do attempt to make these films do fail to realize. Often they might overly focus on one aspect of the film over the other. They're trying to have a balance of both. So, yeah, take that as a notice there, folks, of course. But anyway, so I can say that this film has moments, and while I wouldn't exactly call this movie a masterpiece or anything, but I do believe that it was actually a pretty good film as a whole. It's a solid story with great characters, lots of action and whatnot. So I really liked it. I always thought this film was pretty good. A good film nonetheless. So yeah, I actually wouldn't mind seeing this film again. I've seen the Japanese version quite a few times, and I prefer it over the over the American version, of course. It's mostly because of the dubbing thing, folks. Of course, this again I'm referring to the unedited, unaltered version, of course, which yes is a bit longer, of course. So that's definitely a good thing there. So yeah, I guess it's time to wrap things up, folks, because it's about to finish here. And what else can I say? I really enjoyed it. I really did. So for those who have not seen it, I would definitely give it a recommendation. Alright, I guess. I'll give this film an overall rating of a 7.2 out of 10. I give it a 7.2 out of 10 for me, folks. And as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah.